This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning and welcome to Loose on the Lead for this Sunday morning. Seth Merrow and Steve Bix. Seth Merrow, EquiDaily.com. Steve Bix, Sirius and XM's At the Races. Good morning. Welcome back.
Good morning. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm a little, I've been on vacation.
All right. Oh, you've had 2 weeks where, that's right. No radio.
I only did it because I didn't want to leave you here high and dry.
Well, this warms you up for tomorrow. You step back into the radio. You don't want to be, you want to hit the ground running, so this will have you going. We'll see how this.
I'll hit the ground one way or the other, face first, or we'll see. We'll see how we hit the ground. Hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas and holiday season and New Year, and certainly from a racing standpoint.
Yeah, it's been a nice couple of weeks. Get back in at Santa Anita. We talked a little bit about that last week when we had you via phone. Opening day at Santa Anita with the numbers, I think it has indicated Southern California is really turning around.
Well, what's going on, for those of you that weren't paying attention yesterday, you see what they got, what they got today? You got the Pick 5 carryover.
It was crazy prices, yes.
I've got all the charts. You've got a $392,000 Pick 5 carryover, Seth, and then there's a Pick 6 carryover for $82,000, and then there's a Super High 5 carryover in the nightcap for 40-something thousand. So you're going to have, as it is, they had a big day yesterday again. They're going to have a Sunday that is going to be mind-boggling. There's a chance the Pick 5 pool exceeds $2 million to start the day. And I suppose the NFL action may take away from it a little bit, but not a lot. Santa Anita is rolling. The racing has been just great, and today's going to be fascinating. I put together probably about a $100 Pick 5 play that I'm going to dabble with. I don't think I'll play the Pick 6, but that Pick 5, 50-cent Pick 5, pretty irresistible when the pool is that big. You're crazy not to play.
Yesterday at Gulfstream, somebody hit the red Mike, and we have Mike Welch coming on later. Maybe we'll ask him about it. But they scouted it down, hit the Rainbow Six through the Oregon hub. $33 ticket. They pulled down $317,000. 33
and change. It was a bet on Twin Spires, and literally within what, 10 minutes, there was the $317,000 jackpot winner. But there was an excruciating beat in that Pick 5. Did you see that fifth? No. Oh my God! A guy is live to the favorite, pulling G's. If you play California, you've seen this horse. Kind of blows the brake, then recovers, takes over, looks absolutely home free, and gets nailed on the wire. The guy, people are unsure. There may have been two people with tickets for $200,000 each, or one ticket for $392. It's unclear. It might have been two 50-cent tickets for $199,000 each. This had to be as bad a beat as anybody's going to take.
Yeah, that's brutal. And I can't even imagine. I can't for those kind of numbers. I have never been in the mix, but then it's bad enough when it's a few $100s you get nosed out like that, but those kind of numbers, just incredible.
Now, that is one of the great maxims of pari-mutuel wagering. One person's misfortune is everybody else's gain, and with a almost $400,000 pot to start things off on an already low takeout bet, a 15% takeout Pick 5 for 50 cents. This is really a player's dream, and today well worth playing, even if you have a small budget, because there's a couple of places where you might be able to high wire and come through with singles and a couple of horses. Maybe we'll glance at it when we get a chance.
I like that high wire. I've never heard that term before, but I like that.
High wire act?
No. Well, I've heard high wire act, not in reference to singling or something like that. I kind of like that.
I'm going to trademark it, actually, in reference to racing.
Because you're taking your shot. You're high wire. I don't think we talked about this last week. Mentioned it when you came in this morning. The Blockbuster Day they have lined up for Saratoga this year, Travers Day, which kind of continues what Martin Panza has done down at Belmont Stakes Day, and the big Turf Day down there. They're now doing something similar, Travers Day up at Saratoga. 6 stakes races, 5 of them grade 1s, Travers, Sword Dancer, Personal Ensign, Forgo, the Ballerina, the King's Bishop, and the Boston Spa, all but the Boston Spa are grade 1s. I'm going to be interested to see how it works out. My feeling is, I don't know if they had to do this to attract a crowd. It's already your big day up there.
40,000 anyway.
But Marty Panza said, I think they've averaged about 40 million in handle the last couple of years on Travers Day. He's looking for 70 to 80 million. I guess if that's your goal, this may pan out. Will it detract from other days up at Saratoga where they pulled some grade 1s away? I don't know.
I don't know, and I'm not somebody that is going to pretend to have looked at all the numbers and analyzed, what the fallout of this is. Obviously, Saratoga Saturday racing is still going to be very good, but Seth, there really is a concentration of money on both Whitney Day and Travers Day. I mean, if that's the single focus, you're going to see, I think, a majority of the stakes distribution on those 2 days. Nick Kling actually wrote about this. I saw it in the Saratogian and read it online. And Nick, gave it the full treatment, kind of looking at the dollars and cents. I get it, I suppose, but to me, it's a little bit overkill. I mean, as wonderful as the Belmont Stakes Day was, the assumption is that you're going to draw in enough extra revenue and that you won't diminish your handle on the other Saturdays and so forth. One thing that did seem to make sense is the Sword Dancer and playing around with the placement of the Sword Dancer. That may be a positive. And to get the Sword Dancer a little bit more participation. Yeah.
And the Arlington Million over the past couple of years has maybe not been what we remember from before. So now they kick up the purse of the Sword Dancer. That may help that one out. I certainly agree with that. And to me, Belmont Stakes is even a little bit different because, we had a Triple Crown try this year. They probably didn't need it. But in years you don't have it, that would make a difference. The Blockbuster Day down there, I think, will make a difference. Whereas up here, I don't know whether you're going to draw. It's already a huge day up here.
Well, and you can see this concept spreading. Gulfstream added it themselves. No more, as Mike Welch told you 2 weeks ago when he was on with us before Christmas. Saturday only stakes now, kind of heavy. Yesterday they had what, 4? 1, 2, 3, 4 yesterday. So, right, whatever. It's fine. It doesn't. To me, it's if there's a positive benefit to it somehow, okay.
Yeah, that's what I say. Wait and see attitude, see what happens this year, and if it makes a difference on some of the other weekends or not.
I'm as engaged on Wednesdays and Thursdays as I am on the big Saturday. So I don't need, personally, 6 grade 1s on one day to be excited about the racing. I'm excited by 25 9-winners at 2.
Yeah, good point. All right, why don't we go back to yesterday because the calendar has turned. We've had some 3-year-old races, and again, a little bit later on, we'll take a look at those Gulfstream races when we're joined by Mike Welch. But there was a 3-year-old race of note in New York yesterday, the Jerome Grade 3 event. It had Derby points up for grabs as well as $200,000. El Kabir went off as the 7-5 favorite. I was a little dicey on El Kabir because it seems like the Remsen and the Kentucky Jockey Club, I've been right along with the public. I kind of hang my hat on the winners there and think they're going to show some promise. And I don't know, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So I was taking a little bit of a wait-and-see attitude on El Kabir coming out of that win in the Kentucky Jockey Club. But boy, he validated himself yesterday. Had some trouble going into the first turn, was wide with substitute rider Chucky Lopez. The horse that I was intrigued about was NASA. Number 9 is El Kabir. Number 8 is NASA. And NASA well beaten here, but a pretty good second. So I think, he kind of lived up to my expectations at 5-1. The disappointment for me was Ostrolenko, the 5-2 second choice, who last time tossed in the dud in the Remsen after moving out of a couple of good efforts against State Bread Company. Probably moved back in against State Bread Company. I want to see if he bounces back moving to that level, because certainly an open stakes company, Ostrolenko, kind of a dud. But El Kabir, very, very nice effort yesterday.
Ostrolenko stunk. And,
no question about it.
It just was awful. And, If you had listened to Pletcher when the horse had that big maiden win, Pletcher was surprised by that. For whatever the conditions were, he didn't expect that. And so I think the expectations for Ostrolenka are way out of proportion, because Todd Pletcher didn't expect that kind of a performance when he broke his maiden. And so he's much more, as you just said, likely to be okay as a state-bred quantity. Let's talk about the only two horses that you need to know about coming out of here. And of course, El Kabir you already knew about. 75-1 in the Derby Future. And people with El Kabir got to be feeling pretty good, because Seth, I thought the way he did this was more important than the margin of victory. Got a very square 95 Beyer, which is very good as he continues to improve and as the distances lengthen. This is a positive performance by the Zayat runner, and very happy for John Terranova and Tanya Terranova and their team, and for Chucky Lopez. Lopez was very good when El Kabir sort of bobbled off the first jump and had to kind of reorient himself. Chucky did not ask and did not press. He let the horse settle, and he was wide every step. 4 wide, 3 wide, basically, and this was good, and more than good, I'd say, because he also showed that he doesn't need the lead, and that's got to be very encouraging for them. To know that he is not necessarily going to be a horse that demands the front end. So this was a step forward for El Kabir in total. NASA is also a horse that I like very much. Pat Chapman, of course, from Smarty Jones fame, the Someday Farm Silks, the blue jacket with the white ball, so familiar, and of course these connections. This is a Smarty Jones son, Kendrick Carmouche, who of course is going to be riding much more often in New York now for the winter. NASA with a solid effort, mid-80s Beyer, like an 85, 86 maybe, I think, when the numbers come in. So those are the only two horses that really did anything in here. Some people thought Akaret might be a little intriguing for Rudy Rod and the people who brought you Vijak, the pick 6 team, but he had no excuse and was beaten a dozen lengths. So El Kabir and NASA move forward. It looks like Terranova very comfortable, Seth, about keeping El Kabir in town and just moving straight forward. He's not sure if he's going to run in February. Might wait until the Gotham in March and go Gotham and Wood Memorial at that point. But El Kabir, first graded stake of the year in New York, first graded stake for the 3-year-olds. Derby points, a lot of things to like.
Moves to the top of the Derby point list. In fact, El Kabir now with 21 points, Carpe Diem 14, Texas Red 12 points at this point on the Derby points list. Some other stakes of note over the past few days. Some 2-year-olds also Friday at Aqueduct in the Freddie Capicella.
Yeah, this is well worth discussing.
Majestic Affair wins pretty easily at 3-5 for Chad Brown. It was a short field of only 5. But I thought the 3 inside horses were all intriguing, and the 3 inside horses run 1, 2, 3, with number 3 Majestic Affair getting it done. But again, for Chad Brown, nice win. You don't know how these horses will stretch out or whatnot, but this horse certainly at the 6 furlongs on Friday looked pretty good.
He did, and this is a horse that Jim Cavello purchased, and one of Chad's owners, Tom Coleman, who of course brings you Zebo. Coleman involved in here as well, and boy, what a good purchase this looks like. 97 Beyer for Majestic Affair, winning the Capicella, and they're going to keep stretching him out and look for him to make some noise. This was a very, very authoritative performance, I thought, by Majestic Affair.
And I just wanted to go back to Wednesday, too, and talk about the affectionately, not necessarily for the winner, which was okay, and it'd be nice, Bobby Flay, Billy Mott, America was the winner in the affectionately on New Year's Day down at Aqueduct. But Bel Galante runs 5th in there as the 3-5 favorite. A Grade 1 winner steps into an ungraded $100,000 stakes race over the inner track and can get no better than 5th. I was expecting some ballooned show prices, but I guess once you get up to 7 betting interest, it was just a little too much for the bridge jumpers to step in, because there was nothing spectacular with the show prices, but it was certainly spectacular. Bel Galante couldn't hit the board.
I thought the two efforts on New Year's Eve, on the New Year's Eve card, were both notable in the stakes. That included the Bay Ridge, where John Hurtler, who is one of the most popular people in New York and so easy to be happy for and root for, what a nice effort by Storied Lady in that Bay Ridge Stakes, the first running. And then Big Business and Davey Jacobson with this Eddington Gelding, who's now 6. You know, he's had a terrific year. The horse comes out every 4 weeks or so and has kept nothing but good company. He wins the Alex Robb against a very good field. And, you know, I kind of shuffled him down in my own plays because he'd been running second, third, fourth, third, second, third, hitting the board constantly, running well, but he hadn't been winning. He hadn't won, I think, since November of last year. So I was a little reticent, and he ended up getting bet. Goes off favored 5-2, and he just holds off Beauty in the Pulpit in here. This was a really good edition of the Alex Robb. FNX tried to rally a little bit late. It was kind of late arriving there. West Hills Giant actually ran very well. Again, there's John Terranova having you know, a notable performance in there. This was a good edition of the Alex Robb. Just a nice group of state-bred hard hitters. But Big Business, just to give you an idea, finishes the year 3 wins in 10 starts, 5 seconds, and won himself almost $500,000. Has been just unbelievably consistent. It ran 13 times, 14 times the last 2 years, and you know, that's what you want in a gelding.
And to touch on some other stakes, because it was a fun stakes week, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, we had midweek stakes at Parks back on Tuesday that were really nice. But yesterday was the Bonaparte down at the fairgrounds, and it was interesting because it moved off the turf, it moved to the main track, but I think it was just as intriguing that way. Delaney gets it done over Haytie, and I wondered when I had Brian Spencer on earlier this week, I wondered if maybe they weren't looking at the weather forecast with that one. Last night at Turfway in the wintergreen, Awesome Flower gets it done. No surprise there. It's the 3-2 favorite for Maker and Ramsey. But do want to note Jimmy Toner shipped Moment and Dixie down to run second. That one had scratched out of the affectionately, so Moment and Dixie gets it done. And Steve just wanted to mention also the What a Summer yesterday as part of a 4 stakes card at Laurel. Winning Image, we were all rooting for that one with Tony Black on board, but just could do no better than 6th in the field of 7. And the obvious favorite in there, Lady Sevilla, got it done.
Winning Image, this was going to be her last career start, and she, of course, had been beaten in the Garland of Roses, ran very well in there, and she's headed to the shed. She's 8 years old as of New Year's Day, and was hoping that maybe Mikey Arrow and Marty Scafidi and Tony could go out winners with Winning Image, but it was not to be. You mentioned Fairgrounds. Did you happen to catch that Tappet filly yesterday from Asmussen and Regis Racing? Shook Up is her name. She won by as she pleased. I mean, with every stride, she kept widening over her stablemate, Echo Warrior. Take a very good look at this one. She's a horse that I forget. I don't know what Regis paid for her, but this is a serious filly and is immediately going to become, you know, one of those Rachel Alexandra Fairground Oaks type horses, and this was actually her second start. She had debuted in the slop at Churchill and had been very solid, a good second from way off the pace. Here she was much sharper and took control and just drew off. Make sure you look this up. There'll be a lot written. She went off as the 2-5 favorite.
All right, we'll take our break here. When we come back, it is Eclipse Award time. Voters have to have them in their votes today.
It's his first
my first time. So we're gonna match switch here. Talk a little Eclipse ballot coming up right after this break. A little bit later on. Mike Welch from Florida, from the Daily Racing Forum. All of that when Loose on the Lead continues. Stay tuned.
There's nothing like the thrill and excitement of horse racing. And now, the new home for all the best racing and all the top tracks is OTB-TV on Time Warner Cable Channel 1250, delivering each day the best racing across the country and around the world, whether it's Saratoga or Belmont here in New York, Florida's Gulfstream Park, or California's Del Mar and Santa Anita race courses. No other network brings you the grandeur of horse racing like OTB-TV on Time Warner Cable Channel 1250.
Kicking clear, and Gosepper is pulling away impressively.
Hysterical Lady Ginger Punch to win it.
And it's Wilco in front, and he's going to pull off a huge upset here.
But it's Round Pond going on to take the distaff.
Awesome again. Star of 10 Grade 1 winners, 4 Breeders' Cup champions, and 4 multimillionaires, standing at Adena Springs.
It's more than just a sports bar. It's Stadium Cafe. Located at 389 Broadway in Saratoga, it's the place to be for great times and great food. Their menu features everything from gourmet entrees to your favorite wraps and sandwiches. Or maybe you just want to grab a beer and catch the game. So what could be better than that? How about 2 Stadium Cafes? There's also the Westside Stadium, right up the road at 112 Congress Street. Same great menu, same great service. Whether you're hanging at the bar or just relaxing outside on their spacious covered patio, you'll always leave knowing you'll be back again.
We love, above all, the staff. We love Dave Harmon, and the food is fantastic.
Not 1, but 2. 112 Congress Street, 389 Broadway. Guaranteed to be a home run.
Welcome back to Loose on the Lead on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrow and Steve Vick, and as noted, a new member of the National Turf Writers and Broadcasters Association. So my first year voting in the Eclipse Awards. You've been doing it for a few years now, but we thought we would kind of match wits here and go over our ballots. So I'll kick off. We'll start in the 2-year-old male category. And we get right off the bat, a little bit of a conflict. I took Dortmund on top, and to me, there was no clear-cut winner in here, so you're kind of going. And American Pharoah was the obvious next choice, but to me, you know, a horse that ends in September. I think 2-year-olds, they start to really define themselves in September, October, November. And Dortmund ships across country, wins at Churchill Downs, then gets a Grade 1 under his belt at, back in Southern California. So to me, Dortmund, a slight edge over American Pharoah. Put Carpe Diem in the 3rd spot. Carpe Diem, a Grade 1 win in the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland, and a 2nd behind Texas Red in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Once I got down to the 3rd spot in a lot of these categories, I was just kind of, searching around. But for me, Dortmund on top and American Pharoah underneath in a category where I could have gone either way.
Go ahead and do, since they're on the same page, do your filly as well, and then I'll counter.
Okay, and in the 2-year-old filly category, I went with Take Charge Brandy. I think she, to me, that year-end campaign defined her. Lady Eli underneath, and I know you liked her a lot. I'm going to be interested to see where the vote goes here. Condo Commando in the 3rd spot, and we will take, in fact, a look at Lady Eli as you get to your selection there. We're going to look at her Breeders' Cup Juvenile filly win in a moment when you get to that. But for me, Take Charge Brandy, Lady Eli, Condo Commando in the 2-year-old fillies.
Well, and when you fill out these ballots, to me, you have to have an approach or a philosophy. And for me, I like, particularly when we're going to get to the 3-year-olds and to the older horses, I like a campaign. If I have the opportunity repeatedly to select horses that were able to run the majority of the year, or at least for a good extended portion of the year, that means a lot to me. And that will weigh very heavily in my selection process, typically. When it comes to the 2-year-olds, I'm looking for brilliance, and I'm looking for potential to some degree, and I'm not necessarily somebody that just takes the the obvious. For instance, the Breeders' Cup. The Breeders' Cup winners. I mean, last year you had a difficult situation where New Year's Eve had upset the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and to some extent, does that take precedent over over everybody else? Well, you got the same. To me, you have a similar situation with the filly here with Lady Eli. Let's start with the 2-year-olds, and I'll walk through my selection because I couldn't give it to Dortmund. Granted, Dortmund had, the terrific finish here in a short burst of time, November and December. But American Pharoah, by virtue of those 2 wins in the Del Mar Futurity and the Front Runner, where he crushed Texas Red. I mean, there's no way to elevate Texas Red past American Pharoah, and even with American Pharoah being sidelined for the Breeders' Cup. So I put Texas Red second behind him, and then Hootenanny.
That's an interesting pick. Yeah, very interesting.
How do you not respect what Wesley Ward, who frankly had a spectacular year, and you talk about searching for your third selections. My third selection, typically in categories, are horses that are deserving of some recognition, not just horses, some humans that aren't going to be finalists. But I want to give a nod. I want to give an appreciation. Hootenanny started his year in April, broke his maiden at Keeneland with one of those 4.5 furlong jobbies, didn't like the mud at Pimlico, goes to Ascot and wins the Windsor Castle, and then just gets beat by the wow signal in the Prix de Mornay at Deauville. Comes back and was terrific winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. That to me is an aggressive, honorable 2-year-old season, and it's not obvious. Take it into the fillies. I'm sorry. Take Charge Brandy. I said it several weeks ago. The Dirt fillies are a mediocre bunch. And is she the best of the Dirt fillies? There's no question. By a wide margin. I'm not going to argue that. Lady Eli is going to far exceed in career accomplishment, if she stays healthy, what Take Charge Brandy is going to do. Lady Eli is a special filly. She not just beat, she demolished international cast in that 2-year-old juvenile filly turf race in the Breeders' Cup. And Sunset Glow, she's the female Hootenanny and deserves recognition. So that's the way I played with the 2-year-olds. It's funny. I must have spent an hour yesterday morning or Saturday morning going through the 2-year-olds. I certainly didn't expect the boys' side to be. I knew I was countermanding the 2-year-old filly conventional thinking, but the boys, I didn't expect to ponder over it the way I did. It was much tougher.
It was tough, and I have no argument with American Pharoah. As I say, though, I think they start to define themselves more September, October, November, so I just tilted slightly towards Dortmund.
Now the one that is the most contentious, the 3-year-olds.
And my 3-year-old, California Chrome, Bayern, Shared Belief. I think those are the names you're going to see on most ballots. It's just going to be the order they put them in. And I went back and forth on this. Bayern may have been clearly the most talented 3-year-old. But for me, that Breeders' Cup Classic, I just had to take into account what happened there and the controversy. Bayern was the one that caused the trouble and knocked, perhaps strategically, some of his counterparts out of that early. And so it was a tough decision, but that played into it. Then you have California Chrome, who I think, if you look at that early season, just is kind of not necessarily unprecedented, but very rare. The San Felipe, the Santa Anita Derby, the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness comes back, the Hollywood Derby. I don't know if that was much, but I still give them credit for trying the turf in there. So I think it was a pretty solid season. So I put California Chrome on top, Bayern second, and Shared Belief, of course, with the nice win in the Malibu to cap the year as well. I think they're all deserving. I would have no arguments with anybody switching up the order. I just tilted slightly in the direction of California Chrome. On the 3-year-old Philly side, I think Untappable is going to be the clear choice. Stop Charging Maria was interesting to me on that little period she had in the middle of the year, the Black Eyed Susan, the Coaching Club American Oaks, and the Alabama. And then I threw Sweet Reason in because, again, up at Saratoga, she was very nice, with the test. And prior to that, the Acorn, nice second-place finish in the Cotillion. So that's the way I went. 3-year-old male side, I think you can juggle it up a little bit. I think Untappable, clearly the selection on the Philly side.
I struggled with this, and I discussed it for 6-7 weeks on the radio. I tried to make a case for doing something completely out of whack, which is giving California Chrome the 3-year-old nod and Bayern the Horse of the Year nod. When it came down to filling out the ballot, I couldn't do it. And Bayern is the 3-year-old champion, and is the 3-year-old champion no matter what you think of the breeder. This is a juvenile. This is the juvenile race, I think. Yeah, that's all right. That was a fun race. But what Bayern did, here's the classic. This is great. You're going to get as great a finish as you're going to see in a race of this magnitude. And gosh, the last...
All three of them in here. Bayern wins, California Chrome third, Shared Belief
Shared
fourth.
Belief's making up a little bit of ground in the air in the end there. Declaration of War is who I really needed. Really needed Declaration of War to make this final surge here. But anyway, Bayern, and if you haven't seen, and I'm sure, Seth, you have at this point, has everybody seen the newly unearthed overhead shot?
No.
The NBC, the blimp shot.
Oh, no.
The blimp shot turned up out of nowhere about a week ago. This is unbelievable that 2 months after the Breeders' Cup Classic, there's a HRTV posted the video, and it's better than the head-on because, of course, you're looking more or less down. There is a bit of an angle, but when you see it from overhead, and I said immediately from the shot behind the gate that this whole thing has been overblown, and that Bayern's veering in, they don't ever touch, and really Bayern is past Shared Belief before there's ever an issue, to be honest. And I don't even care about that. The race was adjudicated in the steward's stand, and the result stood. And so that result stands.
Yeah, and that's the trouble I had with it. The result is fair.
The result is the result.
How do I look back? Yeah,
at that point, you look back, and you can put up my selections here, and I'll discuss the top three. Bayern, you can't argue with the quality of this season. California Chrome had the best classic-style 3-year-old year. Yes, he did. Of course he did. He was a Triple Crown candidate, danced all the dances, was wonderful, wins the Derby and Preakness, with a plum. However, in the meantime, Bayern starts his career in January. He is a good third behind Danza in the Arkansas Derby in his graded stake debut. He got, I read somebody online said he couldn't even win the Derby trial. He was disqualified. Unbelievable, because Rosie Napravnik was like a drunken sailor. The Preakness he is interfered with by Ria Antonia, and so he's got a Preakness excuse. Then he turned in a performance in the Woody Stevens, which is arguably the best performance of any horse all year long in American dirt racing. The Haskell, he demolishes. Baffert probably shouldn't have sent them in for the Travers. It was over-aggressive, and it was his one miscue of the year. And then he finishes it, obviously, with the Pennsylvania Derby win and the Classic. Horses that win from 7 furlongs to 10, let me give you a list. Precisionist. That's the list. 7 furlongs to 10. Precisionist. It's a rare commodity. And what he did this year really is he's the horse of the year, and he's the 3-year-old of the year. And as much as I love California Chrome, feel badly for Shared Belief, but sorry he didn't participate in the spring season. And you just can't do anything with that. Untappable is not only the acclamation 3-year-old filly. I mean, she just dominates this, and if she's not first on, anybody who doesn't have her first on their ballot, it needs to turn in their credentials as a voter. I gave Sweet Reason an appreciation. Yeah. She was versatile. She did a lot of nice things, and she did it all year long. And Lexi Liu. How about Lexi Liu facing the boys in the Hollywood Derby? Queen's Plate winner, I understand. Okay, that's for the Sovereign Awards. But I gave Lexi Liu a nod.
Yeah, no argument. Older male, we're kind of on the same page here. Older male, I put Palace Malice on top. And in fact, I think we have a replay here going back to the Met Mile. One of the better races from Palace Malice this year. Palace Malice will be the #1 horse and gets it done over Golden Sense in the Met Mile earlier this year. Palace Malice on top for me. Golden Sense in the second spot. And then again, you get down to that third spot, kind of looking around. Only 2 starts, but I thought Lee was pretty convincing in those 2 starts, the Hell's Hope and the Don. Read that Lee is on the comeback, and I'm probably seeing this one sooner rather than later. Can't wait for that because, again, these were 2 nice starts for Lee. So I put that one in the third spot. Over on the older female side, Close Hatches. Certainly ended the year with a couple of disappointing efforts, but early in the year did enough to deserve the award. Don't Tell Sophia, very, very good. And Judy the Beauty. It's a horse that's more of a sprinter, but I certainly think deserving of some recognition.
Or in this case, Judy the Beautiful.
Judy the Beautiful, yeah, absolutely.
Judy the Beautiful, did you confuse her with Bobby Flay's horse, America?
No, I have Beauty written down. It's a typo. It's a typo.
I did the same thing more or less on the Philly side. Close Hatches. Obviously, the wheels came off after Saratoga. What are you going to do? She certainly had a nice career. You can put those selections up. I don't have anything clever here to say. Don't Tell Sophia, absolutely deserving of the second spot. I thought Ayatappa deserved some recognition for John Sadler. What a nice mare she is, and or filly actually. She was a 4-year-old. She had a very complete season. She did not miss a board in 8 starts this year, including the surprising performance, the good performance in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. She was very good in there, and in fact, got just beat a nose by Don't Tell Sophia in the distaff. Go back, because I do have one thing to say about the boys' side. Palace Malice, obviously, and Golden Sense. Seth and I agree. There's a problem sometimes with the PPs that they send out from the Breeders' Cup. I mean, from the what do you call this? The Eclipse Awards. Imperative is a horse that had a spectacular season for George Papapadromo, and is he in the catalog?
No.
I mean, I'm sorry. This makes me nuts. Imperative was very good all year, and won stakes, won a pair of graded stakes, danced a lot of dances, is a completely unheralded horse, and to me, he's perfect for just a nod for the kind of campaign and the job that. I
will note along those lines too. Dortmund didn't make the book, but they update online. Dortmund is online, but he didn't make the book.
So, last year there was Satish Sanand's mare that was left off of the printed materials, which is just unfair.
On the sprint side, male sprint side, I went with Work All Week. I don't think anybody stepped forward enough to get over the Breeders' Cup Sprint winner. I made that the championship event of the year, and this is a horse 5 for 6 during the year, 4 Midwest Thoroughbreds, one of the leading owners in the country, and they get a Breeders' Cup win. Private Zone certainly had a very good campaign, finished up winning the Cigar Mile, so toss that one into the mix. And then Palace for Linda Rice, who raced so well up at Saratoga, got down in the 3rd position. And on the female sprint side, again, mentioned her earlier, it's Judy the Beauty, who that Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint performance just was very, very impressive. So I tossed that one on top. Taurus, now on the sidelines for a little while, but I thought she was a horse you had to pay attention to on that filly sprint side, and through Sweet Reason as well. The winner up at Saratoga.
You and I are in complete agreement on the sprinters in order. 1, 2, 3. Work All Week. 5 for 6 on the year, but he was perfect on the dirt. And for Midwest Thoroughbreds, a magical year. And not just with him. They also had the Pizza Man, too, that had a great year. In fact, a few Illinois breds. You're going to see another Illinois bred name when we get to the females on the grass, Latia, a magical year for Illinois breds. On the sprinter side, I didn't have any clever ideas past Judy the Beauty, who finally got a chance to run without Groupie Doll in front of her, and she made the most of it. Artemis Agritera. What a great job by Mike Hushin. And speaking of great jobs, what a job with Better Lucky. Fashioning her into a 7-furlong specialist by Tom Albertrani. Brilliantly done.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to the turf side, another one of those categories I think is a slam dunk. Main sequence 4 for 4 with the Grade 1 events following up in the Breeders' Cup Turf. And I think we have video here of the Breeders' Cup Turf, and I wanted to watch that, not just to see main sequence getting what looks like the exclamation point on the season for the Turf Award, but as we'll find later with the Horse of the Year on my ballot. What made a little bit of a difference for me here, main sequence is number 12. Number 7, running second is Flintshire. Flintshire comes out of a second-place finish in the Arc behind Trev, subsequently came out of this race to win the Hong Kong Vase on their big day over in Hong Kong. So for me, it was significant that main sequence gets it done over a very talented international runner in here, and that played into my Horse of the Year vote, which we'll talk about later. But put that one on top in the turf division. Wise Dan, you know, we all said, oh, main sequence is a slam dunk here, and I think he is. But Wise Dan, that's not a bad campaign himself. 4 for 4, couple of grade 1s, 3 grade 1s, in fact, and the nice comeback effort after surgery in the Bernard Baruch. So that was a pretty good season from Wise Dan as well. And then I threw Twilight Eclipse in, and as you stated earlier, just one of those horses I think deserves recognition. He was a real hard knocker at the highest level this year. On the female side, Day at the Spa on top for me. Congratulations to the New York bred program. Finished up the season at Grade 1 in the First Lady, the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mayor Turf for Chad Brown, Stephanie's Kitten underneath, and as you mentioned earlier, Latia.
Well, and obviously, main sequence and Wise Dan, you can't possibly really conceive of anybody else 1-2. I threw Kagan in third, actually, for Mark Casse. Kagan started 11 times, 3 wins, 3 seconds, a lot of big races. The Woodford Reserve beating the length and change, the Manhattan, the UN, the Woodbine Mile. He got beat by Tradestorm, an absolute zot, and so forth. Won the Seabiscuit to end the campaign. I thought he deserved just a little nod for having such an extensive season. Day at the Spa, I couldn't be happier for the Frankels and for everybody involved in here. Certainly our friend Steve Lehman, who's had the time of his life with Day at the Spa. It's been magical for the whole team. They've had so much fun with her, and a brilliant, brilliant job by Chad Brown in here with her. I mean, just made the most of her opportunity as a 5-year-old, and she's going to take home the hardware. I mentioned Latia as well for Armando de la Cerda, a guy that is not well known in working out of Chicago. Great job with Latia, and then I gave Stephanie's Kitten the obvious third slot as well. Basically, you and I more or less in agreement on that front.
And just quickly, Steeplechase, I think Demonstrative is the easy select there. 3 grade 1s under the belt, so Demonstrative on top there.
Absolutely.
On the human side, you know, do you go with numbers? Do you go with stories? Do you go with quality over quantity?
Very hard.
I kind of went with numbers on the owner and breeder side because I put Ken Ramsey on top on both of them, just because absolutely prolific numbers, the kind of numbers 20 years down the road we'll be remembering Ken Ramsey, and he does it from the bottom level of claimers up to the top level of the game. So I put him on top on the ownership. Midwest Thoroughbreds, again, on the numbers, and then they throw in a Breeders' Cup win as well. and Coburn and Perry, I threw them in. You know, they only had the one horse, but it was a really nice year. On the breeder side, again, Ken Ramsey, Adina, and Winchell for me. And I admit, I just kind of went with numbers, but with Ken Ramsey, he does it, as I say, from the low-level claimers up to the top level of the game, so I used him in those categories.
I disagreed on the Ramsey front this year, and because I didn't think they had a particularly great year. Yeah, there's the sheer volume, but he didn't. They weren't as overwhelming and so dominant at Keeneland and so forth. And yes, they won a bunch of stakes. Put up mine if you would. Start with the owner, Kaleem Shah. It's tough to argue with Kaleem Shah's year from Dortmund on the 2-year-old front, and Bayern and Fedbiz and about 6 other horses. I mean, Kaleem Shah had a spectacular year, the kind of year he's been waiting for literally for a decade, putting a fortune of money into the sport, and he finally is going to be rewarded with multiple trophies. I hope for him, because Kaleem Shah is as good an owner as you could have in the game. I put the Ramseys second. The Winchells I put third as owner. Ron Winchell, of course. I put Ron Winchell first as breeder, because he had a spectacular breeding year. And of course, when your family produces Tapit, you're going to go a long way. And I thought this was the year between Untappable and Tapit Sure and several others that people aren't even cognizant of. Ron Winchell had a spectacular year. I put Ramsey second. Chet and Mary Broman.
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, I should have thrown him. Yeah. And that Saratoga they had was
not just at Saratoga. Go look up Chet and Mary Broman's numbers on the national scene. It's incredible what they did. They had a spectacular year, and of course, as great a owner, breeder, stalwart in this state as there is. So I gave the Bromans a nod.
Jockey side, I went with Castellano on top again on the numbers. And Velasquez, John Velasquez, I had in second. He put up pretty good numbers himself. And then in the third spot, I threw in Irad Ortiz, who
I considered. I came close.
I think the kids had a spectacular, certainly in New York. On the apprentice jockey side, I used Drayden Van Dyke, and I think you had to. But I really wanted to go with Trevor McCarthy, and I think, unfortunately, McCarthy is just in one of those situations where the calendar worked against him. And I was starting to think, I wish maybe they would say everybody whose apprentice ended in this year is eligible, and will use your whole apprentice career prior to that. So that because Trevor McCarthy has just been incredible in Maryland. He won the Maryland title this year, and I think last year as well. And so just the calendar worked against him. And then Michael Ritvo, who I think is on the up and come there.
Well, I did a couple different things here on the jockey side and the trainer side. You know, the Pletcher situation. This is the first year I voted for Pletcher as trainer, and you could vote for Pletcher every year. But do you want to, or should you? I went into the statistics analysis thinking that he'd had a down year. He really, particularly the second half of the year, it didn't seem like Todd Pletcher had a terrific, typical Pletcher year, but in fact he had. And he had tremendous earnings, obviously. And listen, he gets the best horses every year, and so he should perform. But he won 40 graded stakes, 40. And you look at the list; it's with a lot of different horses. And I mean, Chad Brown. I sort of was feeling like I probably should have voted for Chad, who did as much or more with his stock. He's getting plenty of great horses too. Wesley Ward gets my acknowledgement. One year I did Charlie Lepresti third. One year Tom Proctor. Somebody that is going to be hard pressed to be a trophy winner, but deserves recognition. Jockey Castellano, yeah. Espinoza deserves some credit. Espinoza had a very good year over and above California Chrome. Joel Rosario quietly didn't seem like Rosario was having a good year until you look closely at the numbers and the specific stake winners, and he actually had a better year than you thought. If you switch to the final category, you mentioned Drayden Van Dyke. I put Drayden Van Dyke on top. Drayden Van Dyke won Open Company Stakes as well, and Taylor Rice, I thought, deserved it, and hard not to give Juan Saez an appreciation. Juan Saez was blazing a trail and was going to be a impactful, successful rider, tragically killed at Indiana Downs, and I think he'll show up on a lot of ballots in that position. I think some people might even try to put him on top, which wouldn't be unreasonable. If the year had finished out safely, the kid was absolutely going to be a star like his brother, and undoubtedly the most tragic story and the most anguished story of the year. Horse of the year, I already laid out my Bayern credentials. I think he was the best. The California Chrome second, and Untappable third. Why not?
Yeah, and I went Horse of the Year, I went main sequence, California Chrome, and Wise Dan. And as I said earlier, main sequence. Again, I had a little bit of a bias against Bayern, but I don't argue with what you're saying.
You didn't have Bayern in the top three?
Well, once I got down to second and third, I could have put him in the mix. It was just California Chrome, I thought, with the Kentucky Derby and the early season. And then Wise Dan, it was that third spot where I just thought a horse that deserved recognition. Because I thought, that 4 races, 3 grade ones in the comeback race, I thought. But I certainly could have put Bayern in the mix. But that's the direction I went.
Well, as a rookie voter, I'll give you the solid B for that ballot.
Okay.
B, and you were flirting with a B+ until leaving Bayern off your top 3. Holy cow!
All right. Well, I'll take a B for my first effort. All right, we'll head to our last break. When we come back, I have a few minutes with Mike Welch. We'll touch on some of the stakes action from Gulfstream yesterday. Right after this, stay tuned.
I'm Michael Chamberlain of Turf Paradise. Now you can catch the action at Turf Paradise and all your favorite tracks on OTB TV at their new home, Digital Channel 8.2. You can also find them on Time Warner Channel 1250 and FiOS Channel 467.
I don't know. You hang around here. What do you think?
Fascinated by the world of horse racing? Interested in honing your handicapping skills? Class is in session. Night school, Monday nights. Easy to access online. It's free, interactive, and informative for the casual and serious race fan. Horse Player Now Buzz. Live horses to watch emailed to you daily. Our eyes, your prize. Night school in the buzz. Visit horseplayernow.com for details.
I didn't want to get just any degree after high school.
Horse racing has always been my passion.
I was already a lawyer.
When I was young, my dad took me to the races. The sound of the crowd. I still remember.
I'm 40, and I don't want to stay in a career I don't love.
I want to follow my passion.
Follow your passion at the University of Arizona Racetrack Industry Program.
Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to CapitalOTB.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
I'm Tony Kalo of Finger Lakes Gaming and Racetrack. Now you can catch the action at Finger Lakes and all your favorite tracks on OTB TV at their new home, Digital Channel 8.2. You can also find them at Time Warner 1250 and FiOS Channel 467.
We're back on Loose on the Lead. Going to be able to spend 5-6 minutes with Mike Welch down at Gulfstream, where there was plenty of excitement yesterday in the nightcap with a whole bunch of horses live to take down the jackpot, the Rainbow Six, and it was a thriller, Mike, and somebody went home happy. $317,000, and it only cost $34 to bring it down.
Right, and that's the second time now, as I tweeted out, in about 3 weeks, somebody's taken down big six-figure, $250,000 or more for $25-$30. So, tip of the hat to the guy that did it.
Yeah, God bless him, right? Didn't it start out with a $98 horse?
From what I was told, too, he singled that horse on his ticket. That's what the word I got.
Holy cow. Might have been a quick pick. I mean, that's unbelievable.
I know. I mean, you got to give the guy credit for doing that. But I'd have been happy just taking the $35 and betting it all on that horse to win that. But
That's right. let alone the 300,000. Well, things will get started back again. And Mike, of course, with the turn of the new year, the 3-year-olds, the newly christened 3-year-olds start coming out. And we got a performance yesterday, certainly. How about Marcus Vitale and Mrs. Vogel? Why are they not getting more love between Lochte and Valid, and now here's another up-and-comer?
No, I mean, he's done a great job with all those horses. He's kind of over at Gulfstream Park West, so those guys are a little bit out of the spotlight over there. Of course, the big spotlight there now is on the situation with all those horses being evicted. But as far as that goes, no, I mean, Marcus has done a good job with these horses. You just wonder, though, how many dances are you going to dance with him, and can he keep this up? I mean, the horse does finish on his left lead, which isn't ideal. I asked him about that. He said if it's not broke, don't fix it. It seems to be working for him. But, my guess is he'll come back in the Holy Bull, and, Marcus isn't shy about wheeling them right back. I mean, this horse came back in 17 days off a career-best effort and move forward instead of backwards, off a 44-4 open and half. So I got to give him credit there. It was a great effort, and disappointing on Morthuk, obviously. Coming off that big maiden win, he looked like he was sitting in a perfect spot, and it just kind of went the other way. The track definitely was favoring speed and maybe horses near the inside yesterday, but even still, I mean, Marcus's horse just ran him off their feet.
Well, and we were actually, they were showing, Mike, as we were discussing, they weren't showing the Mucho Macho Man, they were showing the old hat, where Acatis Phaeton was rallying in the middle, a little bit toward the middle of the track, under Luis Saez for Bill Kaplan, another guy who just keeps finding stake horses.
Right. I mean, he wasn't rallying. He was on the lead all the way, but he did reassert himself. It looked like, or she was beat. And it was kind of interesting that Louis let the favorite come up in between him, Todd's horse, going down the backstretch, and I thought, oh, boy, what's he thinking in here? But it might have worked out for the best, because that filly kind of looked like she got intimidated, went in between horses on the turn, checked out, then had to check again, and that was the end of her. But I, give Bill credit for this horse. This horse was trained really well. Looked like she was stepping up, maybe a bit out of her league, but she got a break when the favorite broke slow, and the second choice broke even slower, Dale Roman's filly. So she made the most of the opportunity, and Bill says we haven't seen the best of her yet, so we'll see.
Let's talk about the spectacular bid. This was the 8th race, and this is a video we should be able to get squared on in the 8th race. Barbados had a lot of buzz and seemingly was taking money, ended up settling at 6-1 and change, and looked absolutely tremendous, and it's nice to see Michael Tomlinson with a horse like this.
Yeah, I don't really know him that well. He seems like a really nice guy. Talked to him after the race. They paid a lot of money for this horse, $350 or $40 or somewhere in that vicinity at the WinStar Dispersal. He trained real well here. I gave him a B on his workout. It would have been a B+ other than he finished on his left lead, so I made it a B. But obviously, we had a good report on the horse. He worked well. He was on the proper lead yesterday, and on paper it sure didn't look like he could beat Rockin' for Rye, but he didn't run back to his previous race, and Barbados moved forward and got the job done, and looks like he's going to be something we're going to hear from later in the meet. And Mike Tomlinson did not rule out stretching him out, giving him a shot to go a mile or longer. He didn't necessarily say the Holy Bull, but he said at some point he's going to try to stretch him out some.
Mike, to me, it sure looked like the horse never even dropped down and leveled out. He was still upright and just galloping along. It sure looks like he'll stretch out. He's out of a street cry mare.
That's what he said. Yeah, he said on the top side it looks like a sprinter, and he physically looks like a sprinter. But he said having street cry on the bottom, would suggest that this horse can go a little further.
I can't let us wrap up, Mike, without mentioning our friend Paul Pompa, who got frankly, a long-awaited stake win. It's been a while for Paul. And Night Prowler, the Giants Causeway Gelding, very nice job in the Dania Beach. And this is actually a homebred of Paul's, and I was delighted for him to win this one. Castellano for Chad Brown.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good trip, a good ride by Javier, and that's what it usually takes in those kind of races. The trip usually separates the top 3 or 4 contenders in those big contentious fields, and she got it, and he got the job done. A little disappointing on the Smoke'em Kitten horse. He kind of got fanned wide on that first turn. Had to get used up a little bit to get to the lead, but really had nothing left at the 8th pole. I was surprised at that. I thought he would run another big race.
And Mike, speaking about Smoke'em Kitten, Edgar Prado was on board. What's the update on him?
As far as
the injury, he's come back. The
no,
bruises
he's
and
fine.
whatnot.
I mean, he had a little cosmetic issue more than anything else, and some bumps and bruises. The only thing that might be hurt now a little bit is his pride. I mean, he had the mount on Marcus's horse in the stake and gave it up to ride Juan and Bina. I think he thought, and his agent thought, that horse down the road had the most potential, and so that was not good on the day for Edgar. But physically, he seems fine. He's won some races this week, and I don't think there's any issue with from that. He got lucky, but his helmet took the worst of it. Edgar fortunately got out of that with only some bumps and bruises.
Yeah, it looks scary. And Mike, before we let you go, also read we can expect a comeback from Lee.
Yeah, I talked to Bill the other day, and he's really pumped up about finally getting him back into action. With the caveat that you never know how they're going to be when they're off that long. But I think he's hoping for the best, and I asked him if it was a prep for the Don. It's obviously, looks that way, and he said, I hope I'm telling you that after the race, that's what this is, that he runs well enough in the House Hope to go back and try to defend his title in the Don.
Before we go, also, Mike, today there's 2 maiden races back-to-back, 7 furlongs on the main track. We're looking at 3-year-old boys, and people will probably have all eyes, I would imagine, on Outlash, the Unbridled Song, $390,000, and seemingly working well for the debut for Napoleon Pletcher.
Yeah, Mike Clocker, Dave Norton up at Palm Beach Downs liked what he's seen from this horse, but, Todd and Mike Rapoli had a couple of horses they fancied in New York over the weekend not run well at short prices, so hopefully they're not going to get the hat trick here. But he has worked well. I think Novak is probably the horse he's got to beat. This horse ran really well in his debut, got in some trouble on the turf last time. Edgar is back on today with 2 races under his belt at 7 Ace. You have to think he's going to run another big race. And a horse that may not win today, but was worth looking at down the road, is All Rise for Bill Mott. No Lasix, first-time starter, post-12, it looks like, with the 2 scratches. Might not be a right combination for a victory today, but this horse is very talented, so I would keep an eye on him.
Anything clever in the 1-mile turf race for the fillies?
With strict compliance out, it becomes anybody's race. Big question mark on Kieran's horse, March On. Kieran has had a lot of success bringing these foreign imports over and winning, right off the bat. Lasix first time. Interesting that he reaches out for Juan Leyva here. I don't know, what to read into that. His work seemed okay up there, nothing special. Locke's probably the horse to beat now, though, with strict compliance out.
How about Tapestry down inside for Shug out of My Trusty Cat?
Well, with his first-time Lasix, now that the horse turned 3, Shug, Lasix on here. Shug's record with first-time starters, although not that good over the last few years, he won with a couple of tappets here last winter, so I would think he'd have to be a player in here, or she would, yes.
Yeah, worked 10.1 before the sale, but My Trusty Cat's offspring, 0 for 18 so far.
Ooh,
yeah,
look at you.
Hard to pull
Look at you.
I handicapped Gulfstream on the handicapping show earlier.
Very nice.
Mike, we appreciate the visit this morning. Good luck this afternoon. We'll talk to you again.
Yeah, one last thing I'd say is the track was lightning fast this morning. The main track, Wildcat Red, went 57 and change. A bunch of others broke a minute flat. I think you're going to see fast times and maybe a speed favor in main track today.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mike. Mike Welch from the Daily Racing Form.
You bet. And the Clocker Report, you can get it for Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. And before we go, another book, a late addition to the books, Race Tracker by my man John Parada. Now at Amazon. Absolutely terrific. John's entire life and his days as a jock agent.
So it's a
novel.
autobiography.
It's a little bit of everything. It's got I guess you'd call it nonfiction.
And he was a consultant on.
Not a consultant. He was a story editor and a scriptwriter.
On
Luck.
Yeah, I forgot the name.
And of course, Due Process Stable for many years, and also managed the stallion career of deputy minister. He bred Touch Gold. John's career pretty unparalleled as a stakeholder in the game. Race Tracker, Life with Grifters and Gamblers, Parada, Perrotta, at Amazon highly recommended.
All right, clock on the wall says we have to wrap up 5 minutes ago, so we will wrap up.
Big hand.
It's Loose on the Lead. Seth Mero and Steve Bickford every Sunday morning. Don't forget questions, comments, suggestions. Loose on the Lead at yahoo.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for joining us this Sunday morning. We'll see you again next week.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.